The main hall of Sunspire Academy was quiet. Too quiet. Cadet Junho stood by the large window, looking out at the stars. His dark eyes reflected the distant lights. Something was wrong. He could feel it. "Attention all senior cadets." The voice of Commander Ta-Wu boomed over the speakers. "Report to Meeting Room A immediately." Junho turned away from the window. His friend He-jun appeared beside him, his usual smile gone. "This is it, isn't it?" He-jun asked, his voice low. Junho nodded. "The Void Collective. They're coming." The two young men walked quickly through the shining halls of the academy. Sunspire was the best space academy humans had ever built. It floated in space, built around a small artificial sun. From far away, it looked like a giant tower of light. Meeting Room A was already full when they arrived. Over 50 senior cadets stood in neat rows. Commander Ta-Wu, a tall man with a stern face and short gray hair, stood at the front. The room fell silent as he began to speak. "At 400 hours, our long-range scanners detected multiple ships entering our solar system," he said. His voice was calm, but his eyes were hard. "We have confirmed it is the Void Collective Armada. Based on their speed, they will reach Sunspire in approximately 18 hours. A wave of whispers swept through the room. The Void Collective was the most dangerous enemy of humanity. They didn't just defeat their enemies, they absorbed them. "This is not a drill," Commander Ta-Wu continued. "This is not a training exercise. This is real." He pressed a button, and a large 3D map appeared in the air. It showed the academy and the approaching enemy ships. There were many of them. Too many. Junho felt his neural implant warm up as it processed the data faster than his human brain could. The implant sent a chill down his spine. The odds were not good. "We have already alerted Earth Command, but reinforcements will not arrive in time," the commander said. "We must defend Sunspire ourselves." He-jun shifted nervously beside Junho. "There's at least 50 ships," he whispered. "How can we fight so many?" Junho didn't answer. He was too busy calculating possibilities in his head. Sunspire had defenses, good ones, but against an entire armada, it seemed impossible. Meanwhile, in the central defense hub of the academy, lead engineer Su-min was already at work. Her fingers flew over the control panels as she directed her team. "Boost power to the quantum shields," she ordered. "I want them at maximum strength when those ships arrive." "But that will drain our reserves," a younger engineer protested. Su-min's sharp eyes flashed. "And what good will reserves do if our shields fail in the first attack?" "Do it now." Back in the meeting room, Commander Ta-Wu was assigning duties. "All pilots will report to their squadron leaders for battle preparations. Engineering cadets will assist with fortifying our defenses. Medical cadets will prepare for casualties." He paused, looking around the room at the young faces. "I know you are students. I know most of you have never faced real combat, but you are also the best and brightest humanity has to offer. You were chosen for Sunspire because you are exceptional. And now, your academy needs you. Humanity needs you." The room was completely silent now. Junho felt his heart beating fast. He had trained for this, but training was different from the real thing. "Dismissed," Commander Ta-Wu said finally. "Report to your stations immediately." As the cadets filed out, Junho took one last look at the 3D map. The void ships were coming closer with each passing minute. In 18 hours, they would arrive. And then, the battle for Sunspire would begin. 2 hours after the meeting, Junho received an urgent message. Director Yunji wanted to see him right away. He hurried through the academy halls, passing groups of nervous cadets preparing for battle. Director Yunji's office was at the highest point of Sunspire. When Junho entered, he found 5 other cadets already there. He recognized all of them. They were the best pilots in the academy. Da-hyun, his longtime rival, stood apart from the others, arms crossed. "Good, you're here," said Director Yunji. She was a small woman with short gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. Despite her size, everyone at Sunspire respected her. "I'll get right to the point," she said. "Our main defense systems have been compromised." Shocked whispers filled the room. Junho felt cold fear in his stomach. "How is that possible?" asked one of the cadets. "We believe there is a traitor among us," Director Yunji said quietly. "Someone has been sending information to the Void Collective. And just 1 hour ago, they damaged our automated defense grid." She turned to look out the large window at the stars. "This puts us in even more danger than we thought." Junho's mind raced. A traitor? Who would betray Sunspire to the Void Collective? "We need a special team," the director continued. "Our best pilots flying our best ships. You will be our main defense until we can fix the automated systems." She looked at each of them in turn. "I'm calling this team Sunfire Wing, and Junho will lead it." Dahyun's face darkened. "Why him? I have better scores in combat training." "Yes, you do," Director Yunji agreed. "But Junho has something you don't, Dahyun. He can think in new ways when plans fail. And I think our plans will fail today." Junho was surprised. He had come to Sunspire from Earth, not from a rich family like many others. Some people looked down on him for that. But Director Yunji had always seen his potential. "Who do you think is the traitor?" Junho asked. Director Yunji sighed. "We suspect Professor Cook. He joined us only last year, and we've learned he once had connections to the Void Collective." Junho was shocked. Professor Cook taught xenobiology, the study of alien life. He was strange but brilliant. "We need to find the traitor and stop them," Director Yunji said. "But your main job is to protect Sunspire from outside. The void ships must not reach us." As the meeting ended, Junho headed to the engineering section to check on their fighters. There he found Ji-woo working frantically at a control panel. Ji-woo was smart, kind, and beautiful. She had been Junho's friend since their first year, though she wanted to be more than friends. Junho knew this, but pretended not to notice. Life at the academy was complicated enough. "Ji-woo," he called. "How are the fighters?" She looked up, her face lighting up when she saw him. "Junho, I heard about Sunfire Wing. Congratulations." She pointed to a row of sleek space fighters. "I've been upgrading the weapon systems. They'll be ready in 2 hours." "What about the defense grid? I heard it was damaged." Ji-woo's smile faded. "It's bad. Someone really knew what they were doing. I'm trying to fix it, but it will take time." "Time we don't have," Junho said quietly. Ji-woo touched his arm. "Be careful out there, okay? The void ships, they're not like our training simulations." Junho nodded. He knew the stakes. If Sunspire fell, Earth would likely be next. As he left, his neural implant pinged with a message from Hejun. "Meet me in Hangar 3. I found something strange." Junho frowned. With a traitor in the academy and the Void Collective approaching, strange was the last thing they needed. Junho hurried to Hangar 3, his footsteps echoing in the now empty hallways. Most cadets were at their battle stations. The void ships would arrive in less than 15 hours now. When he reached the hangar, he found it dark. "Hejun," he called. There was no answer. Suddenly, the lights came on. Hejun stood by the control panel, his face serious. "Look at this," he said, pointing to a small device attached to the wall. Junho moved closer. "What is it?" "A transmitter," Hejun explained. "But not one of ours. I found it by accident. It's sending out signals." "To the void ships?" Junho asked, alarmed. Hejun nodded. "I think so. But that's not all. I traced similar signals coming from all over the academy. Someone has been watching us for months." Before they could discuss further, Junho's neural implant buzzed with an urgent message from Senior Cadet Yuna. Her voice was strained. "Junho, meet me at the observatory level. Quickly. I found something important about the traitor." Junho looked at Hejun. Keep looking into these devices. I need to meet Yuna. The observatory was 6 levels up. Junho took the emergency lift, his mind racing. Who was the traitor? Professor Cook seemed too obvious. When the lift doors opened, the observatory was dark, lit only by the stars visible through the large dome window. Yuna, Junho called softly. A weak voice answered from behind a console. Here. Junho rushed over and found Yuna on the floor, blood staining her uniform. Her face was pale but determined. What happened? He asked, kneeling beside her. I found encrypted transmissions, she gasped, from within the academy to the void ships. I traced them. It's not Professor Hook. Then who? Yuna's eyes darkened. Chairman Du-Yun. Junho couldn't believe it. Chairman Du-Yun was Sunspire's biggest supporter. He had funded the academy for years. Everyone respected him. Are you sure? He asked. Yuna nodded weakly. I confronted him. That was my mistake. He had security droids with him. They shot me. We need to get you to medical, Junho said, trying to help her up. No time. She pushed a data chip into his hand. This is proof. His plan is to surrender the academy to the Void Collective. They'd promised him power in their new order. Junho's neural implant suddenly flashed a warning. The academy's primary defense system was powering down. He's doing it now, Yuna whispered. You have to stop him. Junho helped her to a communication panel. Call medical. Tell them what you told me. Then he ran for the lift. His implant connected with the academy system. Locate Chairman Du-Yun, he commanded. Chairman Du-Yun is in the primary defense control room, the system replied. Junho's heart raced. If the chairman shut down the main defenses, Sunspire would be helpless when the void ships arrived. He ran through the corridors, passing confused cadets. The lights flickered as power was diverted from non-essential systems. When he reached the defense control room, the door was locked. Through the small window, he could see Chairman Du-Yun at the main console. 6 security droids stood guard around him. The chairman was a large man with an unusually kind face. Now that face was set in a cold expression as his fingers moved over the controls, shutting down Sunspire's defenses one by one. Junho stepped back, thinking fast. He couldn't break in alone. The droids would kill him before he reached the chairman. He activated his implant. Emergency message to Director Yunji in Sunfire Wing. Chairman Du-Yun is the traitor. He's disabling our primary defenses now in the defense control room. Need immediate assistance. As he waited for a response, the lights in the corridor turned red. A computerized voice announced, Warning. Primary defense grid offline. Secondary defenses at 50% capacity. Time was running out. Sunspire was becoming more vulnerable by the minute, and the void ships kept coming closer. Junho didn't have to wait long. 2 minutes after his message, Director Yunji arrived with 4 security officers. Her face was grim. Are you certain about this? She asked Junho. He nodded and showed her the data chip from Yuna. She's in medical now. The chairman's droids shot her when she confronted him. Director Yunji's eyes hardened. She turned to the security officers. Override the door. Be ready for the droids. As they worked on the door, Junho's implant buzzed with an urgent alert. He froze as he read the message. Director, he said, his voice tight. The void ships have increased speed. First contact in 10 minutes. What? She gasped. That's hours ahead of schedule. The chairman must have told them our defenses are down, Junho said. At that moment, the academy-wide alarm sounded. A voice came over the speakers. All cadets to battle stations. This is not a drill. Void ships approaching. All pilots to fighters immediately. Director Yunji looked at Junho. Go. Your Sunfire Wing needs you. We'll handle the chairman. Junho hesitated, then nodded. He sprinted toward the fighter bay where his team would be waiting. When he arrived, The other 5 pilots of Sunspire Wing were already in their flight suits. Da-hyun stepped forward. "Is it true? About Chairman Do-yoon?" "Yes," Jun-ho replied, quickly putting on his own flight suit. "But right now, we have bigger problems." The large screen on the wall showed the approaching void ships. They were unlike any ships humans had built. They were black and seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Their shapes were odd, not smooth like human ships, but jagged and uneven. "There's so many," one of the pilots whispered. The lead ship was larger than the others. At its front was a symbol that made Jun-ho's blood run cold. It was the mark of Commander Kyung, a human who had joined the Void Collective years ago. Kyung had once been a hero of Earth's defense forces before he betrayed humanity. "Listen up," Jun-ho said to his team. "Our job is to keep those ships away from the Academy while our defenses come back online. We focus on the smaller ships first. Don't try to be heroes." They climbed into their fighters. Jun-ho's was sleek and fast, customized by Ji-woo herself. As the systems came online, her voice came through his comm. "Jun-ho, I've got partial defenses back online. Not much, but better than nothing." "Good work," he replied. "Keep trying." "Be careful out there," she said, her voice soft. Then, more professionally, "Sunspire Wing is cleared for launch." The bay doors opened, revealing the vast blackness of space. Jun-ho led his squadron out, the 6 fighters forming a V-shape as they flew toward the approaching enemy. From this distance, Jun-ho could see Sunspire in all its glory. The Academy was a massive structure built around an artificial star. The main building was shaped like a spire, reaching up from the central core where the small sun glowed. Surrounding it were rings of docking bays, research facilities, and living quarters. It was beautiful, and now in grave danger. The first void ships came into range. They fired strange purple beams that seemed to distort space itself. "Evasive maneuvers," Jun-ho called. "Return fire." The battle had begun. Sunspire Wing moved with precision, their training paying off as they engaged the enemy ships. Jun-ho took down 2 smaller vessels, his targeting systems working perfectly. But there were too many. For every ship they destroyed, 3 more took its place. And behind them all, Commander Kyung's flagship moved steadily forward, its massive weapons powering up to strike at the heart of Sunspire Academy. Inside Sunspire Academy, alarms blared as the battle raged outside. Lead engineer Soo-min rushed through the corridors, her face determined. 2 junior engineers followed her, carrying a large metal case. They reached a sealed door marked Restricted Research. Soo-min quickly entered a code, and the door slid open. Inside was a large room filled with strange equipment. In the center stood a glowing blue device. "Is that it?" one of the engineers asked. "The prototype." Soo-min nodded. "Our last hope, if the shields keep failing." She had been working on this project for over a year, a new kind of shield technology. It was based on ancient artifacts found during an expedition to a dead planet. The technology was far beyond current human science, but Soo-min had managed to reverse engineer parts of it. "Will it work?" the other engineer asked nervously. "In theory, yes," Soo-min replied. "But to activate it, we need to place nodes at specific points on the station's exterior." The exterior. The engineers looked alarmed. "But that means spacewalks." "Yes." Soo-min's face was grim. "With void ships attacking, it's practically a suicide mission." She activated her comm. "Director Yunji, this is Soo-min. I'm ready to deploy the prototype." Meanwhile, in space, Jun-ho and his squadron fought desperately. 3 void ships exploded under their combined fire, but more kept coming. "We can't hold them all." Da-hyun's voice crackled through the comm. Jun-ho's fighter spun to avoid enemy fire. "Focus on the ones heading directly for the Academy." His neural implant buzzed with a message from Director Yunji. "Jun-ho, Engineer Soo-min is deploying a prototype shield. She needs cover for maintenance droids at these coordinates. A map appeared in Junho's mind, showing 8 points around Sunspire's exterior. Sunfire Wing, new mission, he called to his team. We need to protect some maintenance droids. Back at the academy, Hejun sat at a control station. In front of him were screens showing the views from 8 maintenance droids. These machines, normally used for repairs, were now being sent on a critical mission. Droids launching now, he reported to Sumin. Each droid carried a strange node, part of Sumin's prototype shield. Outside, Junho and his pilots positioned themselves near the droids, shooting down any void ships that came close. What are these things anyway? Dahyun asked as he flew beside Junho. Some kind of new shield technology, Junho replied. If it works, it might give us a chance. The droids worked quickly, attaching nodes to the academy's exterior. Hejun controlled them with expert precision, despite the battle raging around them. Meanwhile, deeper inside the academy, younger cadets were being moved to the core, the safest part of Sunspire. Instructor Minho led them through narrow corridors. Stay close, he ordered. We're almost there. The core of Sunspire housed the artificial sun that powered the academy. It was surrounded by thick walls designed to contain the immense energy. When they reached the core section, one young cadet named Jin noticed something strange. Instructor, look at this wall. It's different. Minho examined the wall. It had strange symbols that seemed to glow faintly. He had never seen them before. Stay back, he warned. But as he touched the wall, a hidden door slid open, revealing a chamber none of them knew existed. Inside were artifacts and technology, clearly not made by humans. The room hummed with power. What is this place? Jin whispered. Minho stared in awe. I think Sunspire was built on top of something much older, something alien. Outside, the battle grew more intense. 7 of the 8 nodes had been placed successfully. Just one more was needed to activate the shield. Suddenly, a large void ship broke through the Academy's weakened defenses. It fired directly at the last droid. No, Hejun shouted. The droid exploded, the node still in its grasp. There was only one option left. Someone would have to go out there and place the last node manually. I'll do it, Hejun said, standing up from the control station. I can place the last node. Sumin looked at him with worry. It's too dangerous. The void ships are targeting that area specifically. We have no choice, Hejun replied. I know exactly where it needs to go. In the defense control room, Director Yunjai had finally managed to subdue Chairman Do-yoon. The security officers held him tightly. Why? She asked him, her voice filled with anger and pain. Why betray Sunspire? The chairman smiled coldly. The Void Collective will win this war eventually. I simply chose the winning side. They promised me power and knowledge beyond your imagination. At the cost of humanity's future, Director Yunji said. An alert sounded on her comm. It was Sumin explaining the situation with the shield nodes. One cadet is going out to place the final node manually, Sumin reported. Director Yunji closed her eyes briefly. Who? Hejun. Outside in space, the battle had reached a new level of intensity. Commander Kyung's flagship had moved closer and now deployed specialized fighters unlike any Junho had seen before. Watch out, he called to his team. Those new ships are different. The new enemy fighters were called Dark Light ships. They moved strangely, seeming to phase in and out of normal space. Regular weapons had trouble locking onto them. I can't hit them. One of Sunfire Wing's pilots called out in frustration. Use visual targeting only, Junho ordered. The computers can't track them. 2 of Sunfire Wing's fighters exploded as dark light beams cut through them. Junho watched in horror as his friends died. Inside Sunspire, Hejun put on a spacesuit. He held the final shield node carefully. The moment it activates, get back inside, Sumin told him. You'll have maybe 30 seconds before the void ships target you. Hejun nodded. He looked scared but determined. Tell Junho, he started, then shook his head. Never mind. I'll tell him myself when I get back. He entered the airlock and waited as the air was sucked out. Then the outer door opened, and he could see the battle raging around Sunspire. It was terrifying and beautiful at the same time. Taking a deep breath, Ho-Jun pushed off and began his space walk toward the final node position. Junho saw him on his ship's sensors. Ho-Jun, what are you doing out there? He called over the comm. Placing the last node, Ho-Jun replied, his voice crackling with static. Keep those ships off me. Okay. Junho immediately changed course. Da-hyun, with me. We need to protect Ho-Jun. The two fighters positioned themselves between Ho-Jun and the approaching void ships. They fired continuously, destroying any enemy that came close. Ho-Jun reached the spot where the node needed to be placed. His hand shook as he carefully attached it to the Academy's hull. Almost there, he reported. Suddenly, a dark light fighter broke through Junho's defenses. It headed straight for Ho-Jun. Ho-Jun, look out! Junho screamed, but it was too late. The dark light fighter fired. Ho-Jun saw it coming and made a split-second decision. He slammed his hand down on the node's activation switch, then pushed himself into the path of the beam. The beam hit him directly. There was a flash of light, and then Ho-Jun was gone. But the node was activated. All around Sunspire, the 8 nodes glowed bright blue. Energy beams connected them, forming a web that expanded into a full shield. Shield activated, Sumin reported, her voice mixed with both triumph and sorrow. The new shield was like nothing they had seen before. It shimmered with blue-white energy, and the void weapons seemed to have no effect on it. For a moment, Junho could only stare in shock. Ho-Jun was gone. His best friend had sacrificed himself to save Sunspire. Then, through his tears, he saw something that made his blood run cold. Chairman Do-Yoon had escaped. And worse, he was transmitting data to the Void flagship. No, Junho shouted as he realized what was happening. He's giving them the shield frequency. The shield lasted exactly 3 minutes and 42 seconds. Then, with a flash of light, it collapsed completely. They've matched the frequency, Sumin reported, her hands flying over the controls. The shield is useless now. Without the shield's protection, void ships swarmed toward Sunspire. The Academy's remaining defenses fired desperately, but they couldn't stop them all. We have borders, someone shouted over the comm system. Levels 3 through 7. Junho and Da-hyun looked at each other. Their fighters were nearly out of ammunition. We need to get back inside, Junho said. The battle is moving into the Academy now. As they flew back toward the hangar bay, they saw several void ships attached to Sunspire's hull like dark parasites. Enemy soldiers were breaking in through multiple points. When they finally landed, the hangar was in chaos. Cadets were setting up barricades, preparing for the enemy to breach this level too. Junho jumped out of his fighter, his mind still reeling from Ho-Jun's death. But there was no time to mourn. He had to keep fighting. Where's the worst fighting? He asked a nearby security officer. Level 5, the officer replied. That's where Commander Kyung himself is leading the attack. They're trying to reach the core. Da-hyun checked his weapon. Then that's where we're going. The two pilots raced through the Academy. The beautiful halls they had walked through just hours ago were now damaged and filled with smoke. They passed injured cadets being helped to medical stations. The sounds of fighting grew louder as they approached Level 5. Meanwhile, in the engineering section, Ji-woo worked frantically to unlock the secrets of the Academy's core. After learning about the hidden chamber of alien technology, she had realized something important. Sunspire wasn't just built on top of alien ruins, she explained to Sumin. It was built around them. The artificial sun isn't just a power source, it's something else entirely. What is it then? Sumin asked. I think it's a gateway, Ji-woo said. A doorway between dimensions. And I think that's why the Void Collective wants it so badly. On level 5, the fighting was intense. Professor Huck, the xenobiology teacher who had been wrongly suspected of being the traitor, was leading the defense. His knowledge of alien biology was proving useful against the Void soldiers. Aim for the joints in their armor, he shouted to the cadets. That's where they're vulnerable. When Junho and Dahyun arrived, they found the professor holding a strange weapon that definitely wasn't standard academy issue. Where did you get that? Junho asked. Professor Huck smiled grimly. I wasn't always a teacher. I used to work for the Void Collective, before I realized what they really were. You're a defector, Dahyun said in surprise. Yes, and that's why I know we can't let them reach the core. If Commander Kyung gets control of what's hidden there, it will be the end of everything. In the core section, the younger cadets were not just hiding anymore. Under Instructor Minho's guidance, they were using their knowledge to fight back in their own way. The Void soldiers rely on their technical systems, Minho explained. We can use that against them. Young Jin had created a device that interfered with the enemy's communication systems. Other cadets had set up clever traps using academy equipment. They think we're just children, Jin said proudly. But we're Sunspire cadets. On level 6, Director Yunji confronted Chairman Du Yum again. He was trying to reach the central computer room. It's over, Du Yum, she said, aiming her weapon at him. Surrender now. The chairman laughed. It's far from over, Yunji. Commander Kyung is almost at the core. Once he has control of the gateway, the Void Collective will be unstoppable. At that moment, the entire academy shook as Commander Kyung's flagship fired its main weapon directly at Sunspire's weakest point. The blast from Commander Kyung's flagship tore through 3 levels of Sunspire. Alarms blared everywhere as emergency systems tried to seal the damaged sections. All personnel evacuate levels 8 through 12 immediately, the computer announced. Junho, Dahyun, and Professor Huck fought their way toward the core. They had to reach it before Commander Kyung did. The core is the key to everything, Professor Cook explained as they ran. The ancient aliens who built it used it to travel between worlds. Is that what the Void Collective wants? Junho asked. To use it for travel? Professor Huck shook his head. No. They want to use it as a weapon, to open gateways to dangerous places. In the hidden chamber near the core, Ji-woo had joined the younger cadets. She studied the alien technology with growing excitement. This isn't just a gateway, she told them. It's a defensive system too. The spire itself is a weapon. Young Jin pointed to strange symbols on the wall. What do these mean? They're instructions, Ji-woo said. The aliens left them for whoever found this place. I think Sunspire was built as both a school and a safeguard. It was meant to be activated if Earth was ever in serious danger. Like now? Jin asked. Ji-woo nodded. Exactly like now. Meanwhile, Commander Kyung and his elite soldiers had broken through to level 4. They moved with deadly precision, their armor unlike anything humans had created. It was black and seemed to absorb light, just like their ships. Commander Kyung himself was tall and moved with graceful power. His face was hidden behind a helmet that showed only his eyes, cold and determined. The core is 2 levels down, he told his soldiers. Nothing must stop us. Junho, Dahyun, and Professor Cook reached the core level just as Commander Kyung's forces arrived from the other side. They ducked behind barricades as enemy fire filled the corridor. We can't let them reach the core chamber, Professor Huck shouted over the noise. Inside the chamber, Ji-woo was working frantically with the alien controls. Director Yunjae had joined her, having escaped from her confrontation with Chairman Do Yoon. Can you activate it? The director asked. I think so, Ji-woo replied. But it needs time to power up. We have to keep them out until then. The fighting in the corridor was fierce. Junho shot 3 Void soldiers, but more kept coming. Beside him, Da-hyun was hit in the shoulder, but kept fighting. "We can't hold them much longer," Da-hyun called out. Then Professor Huck did something unexpected. He stood up from behind the barricade. "I'll buy you some time," he said to Junho. "Get to the core chamber and help Jiwoo." Before Junho could stop him, the professor charged forward, firing his strange weapon. The Void soldiers fell back in surprise. Junho and Da-hyun used the distraction to run for the core chamber door. They slipped inside just as Professor Huck was surrounded by enemy soldiers. The core chamber was amazing. The artificial sun floated in the center, but now they could see it wasn't a sun at all. It was a contained ball of energy, swirling with colors that hurt the eyes to look at directly. "Junho," Jiwoo called when she saw him. "You're alive." "Barely," he said. "What's the plan?" "We're activating the spire," Director Yunji explained. "It's actually an ancient weapon, but we need more time." Suddenly, the door exploded inward. Commander Kyung stood there, his weapon raised. His soldiers poured in behind him. "Step away from the controls," he ordered. Junho raised his own weapon, stepping in front of Jiwoo to protect her. "Who are you?" he demanded. Commander Kyung slowly reached up and removed his helmet. Junho gasped in shock. The face was older, scared, but unmistakable. It was a face he knew well, one he had seen in the mirror every day of his life. "Don't you recognize me, little brother?" Commander Kyung said with a cold smile. "Brother," Junho whispered, his weapon lowering slightly in shock. "That's impossible. My brother died when the Void attacked our home colony." Commander Kyung smiled coldly. "I didn't die. I was taken. And then I saw the truth. Humanity is weak. The Void Collective is the future." Behind Junho, Jiwoo continued to work on the ancient controls. She needed just a few more minutes to activate the spire. "You were always the favorite," Kyung continued, taking the step forward. "The special one. Even now, look at you, the hero of Sunspire Academy." Junho shook his head. "This isn't about us. This is about the survival of humanity." "Humanity had its chance," Kyung replied. "Now it's time for something new." He raised his weapon, pointing it directly at Junho's heart. "Step aside, brother. I don't want to kill you." "I can't do that," Junho said firmly. Da-hyun, despite his injured shoulder, moved to stand beside Junho. "Neither will I." For a brief moment, something like sadness flashed in Kyung's eyes. Then it was gone, replaced by cold determination. "So be it." He fired. Junho dodged, and the battle began. It was chaos in the core chamber. Junho and Da-hyun fought side by side against Kyung and his soldiers. Director Yunji protected Jiwoo as she worked. "Almost there," Jiwoo called out. "Just 30 more seconds." Junho battled his way closer to his brother. Their fight was personal now, hand-to-hand combat that showed they had both trained at the same academy years ago. "You don't have to do this," Junho said as they grappled. "You can still choose a different path." "It's too late for that," Kyung replied. In that moment of distraction, Kyung knocked Junho to the ground and aimed his weapon. But before he could fire, Chairman Do-yoon suddenly appeared at the door. "Commander, the activation has begun. We must stop it now." The chairman rushed toward Jiwoo, a small device in his hand, some kind of bomb. "No," Junho shouted. But it was Professor Huck who stopped the chairman. The professor, badly wounded but still alive, grabbed Do-yoon from behind. "Not today, traitor." The two men struggled, falling against the ancient controls. There was a flash of energy, and both disappeared in a burst of light. "It's ready," Jiwoo shouted, pressing the final sequence. The artificial sun in the center of the chamber pulsed with blinding light. The entire spire began to vibrate. "What have you done?" Kyung demanded. "Save humanity," Director Yunji said simply. The energy pulse spread outward from the core, throughout Sunspire and beyond. When it reached the void ships, they seemed to freeze in space. Their dark hulls became visible, no longer absorbing light. Their technology is failing, Jiwu explained, watching the readings. The pulse disrupts whatever gives them their power. Kyung stared in disbelief as his soldiers' armor stopped working. The lights on their weapons died. "It's over, brother," Junho said, getting to his feet. "Surrender now." For a long moment, Kyung stood there, his face a mask of anger and defeat. Then, slowly, he lowered his weapon. "This isn't the end," he said quietly. "The Void Collective will return." "And we'll be ready," Junho replied. 3 days later, the survivors gathered in the main hall of Sunspire. Parts of the academy were heavily damaged, but repairs had already begun. Earth forces had finally arrived, securing the academy and capturing the remaining Void soldiers. Director Yunji stood before the assembled cadets. "We have lost many friends," she said, her voice strong despite her sadness. Hojun, Professor Guk, and too many others gave their lives to save Sunspire. She gestured to the stars visible through the large windows. But their sacrifice means humanity still has a future among those stars. Sunspire will be rebuilt, stronger, better prepared. Junho stood with Jiwoo and Dad Hyun, now friends instead of rivals. His brother Kyung had been taken to Earth for questioning. Perhaps someday they might truly talk again. "What happens now?" Jiwoo asked quietly. Junho looked at the damaged but still standing spire. Its true power had finally awakened. "Now," he said, "we learn, we prepare, and we make sure we're ready for whatever comes next." The light of the artificial sun, the ancient gateway, glowed behind them, a reminder that Sunspire Academy was more than just a school. It was humanity's best hope for the future.